there was a cross-section of voters surveyed, and overall, they're not particularly pleased with the direction the state's going. When asked for opinions on the state legislature specifically, more than 45% disapproved. In fact, daylight is when it really became clear just how bad the damage from these flood waters really happens to be. It looks like in this neighborhood here in Brandon that folks are packing up and moving out. There's not been a lot melting here today. We can tell you that when we were passing some of the trees and power lines earlier, suddenly you'd have just a drop of snow, and it was because the wind was just blowing it off. That's how kind of light and fluffy this snow is. It's good for making a snowman, and that's what we saw a lot of kids doing today. Nationwide manhunt for this man, 28-year-old Alex Bridges Deaton. He is wanted for murder and aggravated assault out of Rankin County. And here's a story still developing tonight. The man wanted for murder and aggravated assault in Rankin County may now be linked to the Neshoba County church murder that we first told you about last week. Very latest information tonight is that the reward for Alex Bridges Deaton and any information leading to his arrest has now been upped to $27,500. And this is one case where investigators are asking that this man's photo be shared as much as possible. Investigators confirmed that Robinson was in the UMC ER on Wednesday. She got off there at 7 o'clock that night, but have been able to independently confirm that Robinson sent her friend a happy birthday text around 8 Wednesday after she got off work. In that text conversation, she said she and Deaton had split up. It was high fives and hugs all around here at the Rankin County Sheriff's Department this morning when they got the news of Alex Deaton's capture, but also after speaking with them, it's clear that this case has weighed on them all.
It just rips my heart out when something like this happens in the community, and to see my men and my women working so hard, and then when you're sitting there talking to a mother and father that have lost their daughter, it's just it does get emotional, and it is hard. And I do take crime personally here in the county. Sheriff Brian Bailey admitted his worst nightmare since Alex Deaton seemed to fall off the grid this weekend was that he'd return to the area and continue a killing spree. It's like a weight off your chest. I mean, it's just like, I can breathe.
It appears to us that the only people that had to really worry about him were people who were unarmed and innocent and couldn't defend themselves. He certainly didn't stop for the law enforcement officers who could defend themselves. Yeah.
That's what stuck out to those behind the scenes of this case, the fact that it didn't seem Deaton had any regard for innocent people.
It's over for this guy, we've got him, but it's never going to be over for these victims' families.
Heather Robinson's family laid her to rest today, but not before first learning of Deaton's capture. Their statement says, although our hearts are shattered and our lives forever changed, this has certainly helped. So what now for Deaton? Well, Rankin and Neshoba officials are making the trip to Kansas in hopes he'll soon be back to face a murder and aggravated assault charge in Rankin and a second murder charge in Neshoba.
Could have him here as early as next week. If he refuses to waive extradition, you're looking at probably a 3 to 4 week time period that we'll be waiting for the necessary paperwork.
In case you missed it in our coverage earlier this week, Alex Deaton's murder charge here in Rankin County could still be upgraded to capital murder. That's pending the autopsy results for Heather Robinson's body. For now, live in Rankin County, Courtney Ann Jackson, 3 on your side. Marcia, it's not unusual for us to be pushed back from investigation sites where an active investigation is taking place, but today we learned that it's what this plane was carrying that makes matters even more complicated. In fact, it's a dangerous situation in terms of what they're investigating as they start to sift through the remnants of what's left of the plane. Loads of Marines were shuttled back and forth to the debris sites Tuesday. Local and state law enforcement are now support as the military has taken over the investigation into what may have caused the KC-130T aircraft to crash Monday.
And they were on a training flight from Cherry Point, North Carolina to El Centro, California. They were on a mission to just transport personnel and equipment. That's what we know right now.
We don't know the names of the victims, but we've now learned that 7 of the 16 on board were from the Marine Raider Battalion based out of Camp Lejeune. The Marine Corps and Navy are still notifying the families.
I can only imagine it's probably one of the worst times they could be. But that's what we are here for, to provide them with chaplain support, mental health, anything that they can. That they need. It's all part of the process.
Investigation efforts are scattered because the debris is on either side of the highway. Just to give you some perspective, this field where part of the debris is located has soybean crop that is about waist high, even further back about chest high. So that's complicating what we're able to see from our vantage point. Just after shooting that video, our crew was asked to back up because there are unaccounted for ordinances and they could be scattered in this field. Because of that, the military has brought in an explosive ordnance disposal team just to be on the safe side. In fact, this field won't be able to be plowed until every inch has been searched. Makeshift command centers have seemingly been established for investigators at both debris sites.
This is the only thing that I could do for them.
Brenda Cockrell grew up in nearby Indianola. She says these kinds of tragedies echo through these small Delta towns.
We all come together when something happens, and the military means a lot to me, so it's kind of special.
Tying the 16 black balloons up as a makeshift memorial was emotional, despite the fact she doesn't know the service members on that flight.
It brings me peace to know that God has a purpose for everybody, and I know, and in my heart I believe that He was with all of them when they passed away.
We still don't know the names of the service members on board, but we've now learned that 7 of the 16 were from the Marine Raider Battalion based out of Camp Lejeune. Katie Carson was one of several locals who slowed as they passed the crash site.
It do kind of shake you up, you know, you just wonder why, and you know, what the reason was.
With one click to Facebook, Representative Carl Oliver ignited a firestorm of controversy. His post noted that those in Louisiana taking down the monuments should be lynched in all capital letters. A couple of his colleagues went ahead and hit like on the post. It came to a head Monday morning, though, with leadership stepping in.
I called him immediately and said, this is not acceptable, this is inappropriate, and you need to apologize for this.
I think his comment was inappropriate, and I think it's foolish.
The first 2 words out of my mouth in my statements are, I condemn his statements. That's the strongest word I could come up with, is condemnation. If there's a stronger word, I'll keep searching for it.
Governor Phil Bryant issued this statement saying Representative Oliver's language is unacceptable and has no place in civil discourse. Don't bother trying to go back to Facebook and find that original post. It's since been deleted, but even still, by mid-afternoon, Oliver appeared to have deleted all of his Facebook content, or at least changed his privacy settings. So now all you see is his profile picture, cover photo, and the apology. In that apology, he acknowledges the word lynched was wrong, says he's very sorry and deeply regrets that he chose that word. He also asked for forgiveness. Others, like Senator Solly Norwood,
request his resignation.
Didn't think the apology was enough.
This came from the heart. This is not something that you just arbitrarily think of. You know, you put emphasis on this. You know, that speaks for itself.
This B-17 aluminum overcast was considered futuristic when it was built during World War II. In fact, it was one of the first electric airplanes. And lucky for history's sake, just a handful of them are still flight-worthy today. The smoke, the vibration of the seats as the propellers spin and engine cranks, it suddenly makes you think what it must have been like for young men who found themselves headed into war zones on planes like these.
17's sole purpose was to be a bomber. They had a crew of 10. They had 13 50 caliber guns, and they were only for defensive purposes. The whole purpose of this airplane was to drop between 8,000 and 10,000 pounds of bombs.
Veterans often come out to these events to experience the plane again.
Veterans, it's amazing because the closer they get to the plane, the taller they walk, the faster they walk. They get to it, they're back, it's like they're 19 years old again. They hop in, they start talking about things. Family members with them will lean over to us and say, we've never heard this before. It's like the airplane allows the floodgates to open, allows them to remember things and share it with their family.
This particular plane was made in May of 1945, so it never saw any war action, but it's serving a new purpose in its old age, a sort of hands-on living history.
World War II is being reduced to 1 or 2 pages in the history books. They're marginalizing it. They're not appreciating the veterans, the people that served, that gave their lives in them. We like to be able to bring it around and show people what it was like, give them a taste.
You'll have the chance to come out and see the aluminum overcast for yourself at the John Bell Williams Airport in Raymond this weekend. They'll have ground tours of this and other warbirds for free. If you want to take an inside look at the inner workings of the plane, there will be a small fee. And if you're willing to shell out even more money, you too can take a flight in this aluminum overcast. At the John Bell Williams Airport, Courtney Ann Jackson, 3 on your side.